Gaming Bolt presents 15 most memorable boss fights in the last 15 years. It's been a long time since a boss fight was just running under a turtle or shooting Robot Hitler in the face. Since gaming technology has evolved with the ability to provide a little more nuance to a climactic boss battle than just a test of skill at avoiding hammers. We would like to take a moment to celebrate those bosses from a more modern time, and what they meant to the games that they were in. There's way more great battles than we had room for on this list, so please leave your favorites in the comment section below. The End, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, 2004. Does a boss battle have to be a high-intensity action scene requiring quick reactions? Well, Hideo Kojima was one of the first to challenge this notion within Metal Gear Solid 3 in the super memorable fight with The End. The battle against the aged sniper is a stunningly tense but calm affair as the player tries to remain as quiet and hidden as possible in order to come out on top of the deadly sniper duel where the first one to be found will die. HYDRA, God of War, 2005. The introduction to the Ghost of Sparta had to be huge to establish the character of Kratos, and the fight against the Hydra was the perfect introduction to the series, with the adventure, amazing set pieces, and brutality that we've come to expect from the series. The Hydra isn't even Kratos' goal in this moment. It is simply keeping him from acquiring a key, therefore it has to die. RAAM, Gears of War, 2006. An intimidating figure throughout the original Gears of War and a big part of what gave that first title its slight horror tilt, the quiet General RAAM had brawn and brains, enough to make his assaults on humanity brutally effective. The showdown with Marcus and Dom on the train at the end of the first game sees the giant beast hefting around a turret in one hand while keeping the Gears at bay with his swarm of krill. Eventually overpowered, the showdown on the train became one of the defining moments of the series and probably its best boss battle. Colossus of Rhodes, God of War 2, 2007. The franchise has never been a series to allow itself to stagnate, with the sequel taking the Hydra battle and making it seem almost cute beside the challenge of the Colossus of Rhodes. The animated statue absolutely towers over Kratos, and sees the two go toe-to-toe across the entirety of the city until Kratos is double-crossed by Zeus. Liquid Ocelot, Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots, 2008. The capstone to Solid Snake's journey, the battle with Liquid Ocelot quite fittingly took players on a journey right through the saga, invoking memories of tactical espionage action through the generations, borrowing UI elements, gameplay mechanics, and music from Metal Gear Solid, Sons of Liberty, and Snake Eater, with each phase seeing Ocelot using tactics from said games, all before the two aged men are on their last legs, going blow to blow against the somber tones of Old Snake, punctuating that this confrontation really was the end of a road set in motion back during the Cold War. FLAMELURKER, Demon Souls 2009. The FLAMELURKER appears deep within the Stonefang Tunnel in Demon Souls and is quintessentially the kind of Souls boss that would go on to define the series later, with a totally fair challenge and a hidden weakness to magic that players would have to infer if they wanted to emerge from the challenge alive. The arena itself is also against you, demanding that players be aware of their surroundings or they'll burn in lava or find themselves backed into a corner. Prepare to die, indeed. CRONOS, God of War 3, 2010. Kratos sure is appearing a lot on this list, but it's hard to say that boss fights like CRONOS didn't make an impression. Again, one-upping the Colossus of Rhodes, fighting the massive titan makes the brutal Kratos feel like a lowly gnat, clambering around whatever he can and taking advantage of any weak spots to be found, like a fingernail. Kronos' fatal mistake comes from trying to eat the Ghost of Sparta, allowing Kratos to do his best Aliens impression, killing off the biggest foe yet. Manus, Dark Souls 2011. The father of the Abyss himself, Manus features heavily in the DLC for the first Dark Souls as the source of the darkness that threatens to engulf the world. The twisted, hulking terror wields a club the size of two men. The ability to call in Sif, an earlier boss, for help against the beast makes the battle all the more memorable. The Guardian, Darksiders 2, 2012. The enormous Guardian takes death for a ride in Darksiders 2, giving one heck of a Shadow of the Colossus vibe in the process. The huge construct tries to kill Death with his hammer, bombs, and debris he kicks up, eventually resulting in the destruction of the Guardian, as his corruption is cleared. MISTRAL, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, 2013. The energetic, over-the-top Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance is best exemplified with the first real boss battle the player comes up against, the beautiful and baneful Mistral. The orphaned child of war given purpose by butchering her parents' killer, her backstory is as Metal Gear as it gets. But Platinum Games takes over quickly, giving us a battle of sword versus whip that feels like what a modern Castlevania should totally be, with clashing weapons as the player is tested on the parry system and a killer rock soundtrack is backing the entire action. Laura, The Evil Within 2014. The twisted specter of a lost sister, Laura haunts Sebastian repeatedly throughout The Evil Within as a reminder of his failures and revenge. The ghastly, mottled woman screams horribly as she lunges after Sebastian, barely touched by bullets but terribly adverse to fire as an allegory for her death in a blazing barn. Laura leaves an impression on the players from her silhouette alone. Orphan of Kos, Bloodborne: The Old Hunters DLC 2015. The alien-looking Orphan of Kos stands as the ultimate boss of Bloodborne's DLC, The Old Hunters, and the original sin that created and feeds the Hunter's nightmare. The lore behind Orphan of Kos and how it feeds into the rest of Yharnam suggests dark, grave misdeeds of Hunter's past, and the wizened, disfigured beast can even transform through consuming part of his weapon, mutating further into abomination. Players need to be just as aggressive to get out alive. The Edge, Fury 2016. Unique within Fury, the Edge is an honorable swordsman who doesn't belittle the stranger, but rather encourages him to fight at his best. His Japanese-inspired design reflects his morality, as he considers the stranger as a challenge befitting his skills, and someone who can make him better. His fight is made all the more memorable by his almost completely melee-based fight, part of which brings the game into a 2D plane for the only time in Fury. DARKEATERMIDIR, Dark Souls 3: The Ringed City DLC 2017. As the Ashen One descends further into the twisted Ringed City and entropy itself, not only will their surroundings become more twisted, but they'll get the attention of the Darkeatermidir, a four-winged dragon with an attitude, who's been twisted by his endless battle against the darkness of the Abyss. One of the more cinematic battles within Dark Souls, Midir has a host of attacks and eventually falls down a chasm where he will be encountered later to finish off. Baldur First Encounter, God of War 2018. The opening of a new game sees a surprisingly low-key reintroduction of Kratos as him and his son build a pyre for his dead wife and prepare to depart to scatter her ashes. The stranger comes knocking at Kratos' door. Baldur wants something from Kratos, who isn't going to give it up without one of the most personal opening fights in the series, with the two going toe-to-toe against each other, just outside of Kratos' home and what he's there to protect. Kratos might be a father now, but Baldur shows that he can still throw down the kind of epic encounters that he used to back in Greece. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from Gaming Bolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.